friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. Today we are going to be talking about our 2024 garden layout. If you are new here, we grow a staples garden where we are trying to fill our pantry with canned goods and dehydrated goods from our garden. And that goal or that purpose kind of shapes everything that we do garden-wise, especially the way that it is laid out. And we are making significant changes this year, which I am excited to share with you. I'm going to actually show you my garden plan on paper. I've got it all drawn out. It's one of my favorite things to do in the winter when it's cold and dreary outside, is to do some garden planning. So I'm going to actually show you that on paper. If you have not planned your garden yet, now is the time. It's certainly not too late by any means, but now is the time to do your garden planning before spring. Ideally, you want to know what is going into each row or bed or trellis, however you garden. Ideally, you want to know what's going there so that you can amend your soil before planting. And since spring is coming up on us fast, we want to go ahead and do that soil amending and all of that right around now. So I have lots of tips and ideas to share with you, and I'm excited. Let's get started. If you would like help planning a productive garden, scroll down to the description box of this video and click this link for a free garden printable. We calculated quantities for a year's supply of the most common garden vegetables and organized them into a neat chart to help you plan. We'll send it straight to your inbox. If you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials on gardening and food preservation, food storage, and more. Okay, here is our garden plan. I'm going to try to hide behind here so you can kind of see how that is laid out. Hopefully you can see it. Can't really see the camera. Okay, so one of the biggest changes that we're making this year is that we are expanding. This right here is completely new. Where these trellises are, that's where our garden currently ends, and we are adding approximately 40-ish more feet this way, width, to our garden. And we're going to be maintaining the same length, which is 50 feet. So that is a good chunk of square footage, and the reason why we are expanding the garden this year is for two reasons. Number one, we have needed to expand in the past, but we were unable to because I knew I would not be able to maintain any larger of a garden than I have currently. But we learned last year, verified, I had an inkling, but we verified last year that there is no way we can meet our goals of growing all of our vegetables and some of our fruits for a year in this current garden footprint. So expansion was necessary to meet our goals, but the problem is I have limited time, I have limited energy and strength and all of that. So how are we going to do this to where I can still maintain it even in such a larger volume? And the answer for us was weed fabric, but not just your typical landscape fabric that you get at your hardware store. We are going with a woven ground cover type fabric. The brand is Sunbelt, and we are going to be using that this year. I've already got it, and I'm excited to get it laid out and map that out. So because we are switching to weed fabric this year, we are going back to our long traditional rows. I have gardened what feels like every way possible in the book, and they all have their pros and cons. Even in this one single garden footprint, I'm going to be growing multiple different ways, but the weed fabric just tends to line up better with these long, straight, skinny rows. And that's another thing that I was finding with my square foot garden beds. Even though if you amend it correctly, the whole point of square foot gardening is to grow more in less space. It's like a very intense growing method, which is fantastic. But I was finding that either I couldn't amend my soil so perfectly as to be able to stuff all those crops in there without something suffering. So I was still not able to grow enough volume of food in those square foot garden beds. So I'm excited to go back to traditional long rows. The only reason I ever walked away from that was because of the weeding. Having a 40-foot, 50-foot plus long row of something is a whole lot of weeding, and then you multiply that by 5 or 6 or 7 rows, and all of a sudden it feels like an impossible task to stay on top of the weeds in the summertime. And it is, and for me it was impossible. I have never been able to fully stay on top of those weeds, especially at the end of the summer when I'm tired and I will not go out to the garden for 4 or 5 days, and that's it. All it takes is 4 or 5 days of not daily maintenance to just get out of control. So woven ground cover is what we are doing in this whole portion of our garden. We're going to be doing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 50-foot rows. And let me tell you what we're doing in each of those rows. I am dedicating our 50-foot rows to the stable garden crops, except for our little potato patch over here, which I'll get to that in a minute. But the things that we need to grow very high volumes of in order to meet our goals for the year. So number 1 is cabbage. Cabbage. I can't say enough about cabbage. I have been tracking how much we go through. I've been tracking how often I use it in meals, both in canned coleslaw starter and in just dehydrated or freeze-dried shreds or chunks for things like cabbage soup, unstuffed cabbage casserole, cabbage coleslaw starter for barbecue. I mean, just all types of things. And we go through way more than I think we do. So I am hopefully getting about 40. My goal is to get about 40 heads of cabbage out of this 50-foot row. We will see if we meet that. You see these little hoop type things that are drawn over that green line? Those are representatives of my hoop structures that I build out of rebar and it's not a PVC pipe, it's like an irrigation tubing. So rebar and irrigation tubing to produce this hoop structure that goes over the cabbage, because what I have found is that I cannot stay on top of the cabbage moth. They're little worms, get all over those cabbages, eat them up, and since we stick to organic farming method or growing methods, I don't want to use any type of pesticides. There are some organic options for cabbage worms, and I have tried those. But the maintenance schedule and the money of buying that schedule on this volume has proven to be not worth it to me personally. So last or 2 years ago, we tried these hoop structures where we put netting over these hoops very low to the ground. They are only a few inches higher than the cabbage heads themselves. So we're not needing a whole lot of material, but just preventing that cabbage moth from landing on the cabbage in the first place eliminated the cabbage caterpillar problem. So I am doing that from this point on. It worked fantastically. You see little X's and stuff. That is just reminding me, hey, I need to be able to walk through these rows. I know I'm going to be tempted to stuff food everywhere I possibly can. I know I'm going to be tempted to put those rows closer together, but I am putting X's here to remind myself I need at least 3 feet wide of walking space, probably more like 4 feet, but we'll see how that's going to work out. This row right here is our onions. I am hoping to get 100 onions each of our 2 favorite varieties, which is our red Creole onion and our Texas sweet white onion. It's more like a yellow, no, it's pretty much white. It's pretty much a white onion. But those have grown the best for us in our area, and we are going way bigger than we did last year, and we're going to be planting 100 of each for a total of, Lord willing, 200 onions to get us through for our sweet onion relish, all of our sauces, but also I want to be able to dehydrate and freeze dry a bunch in little cubes and dices, because we cook with onions all the time. I have also been practicing, I freeze dried some red onions last year, and I've been sprinkling those straight on my salad without rehydrating them first, and I love them. They maintain this slight crunchy type texture. The onion flavor isn't quite as potent as it is fresh, but I find that it definitely provides an onion flavor to my salads, and I don't even rehydrate them first. They stay a little bit crunchy. It's almost like an onion crouton. Fantastic. So we want to go ahead and do that too, because we eat a lot of salads. Next is our peppers. We're growing more peppers than we ever have grown, Lord willing, this year, but I am sticking to 3 varieties. I was sticking to 2 varieties, but we did a 2024 seed chat video recently where we showed everything that we are growing this year, and I wanted recommendations from y'all, and you did not disappoint. You gave me so many wonderful recommendations, and yes, I did go order some of those recommendations. One of them is the peppers. Multiple of you commented about the Jimmy Nardello pepper. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I have not personally grown it, but so many of you have, and you let me know about it. So I am adding that to my roundup this year. So we are doing California Wonder, which is just your classic green bell pepper. We are doing the giant Marconi Rossi pepper. I grew that last year for the first time, and it is a forever item in my garden from this point on. I absolutely love them. And then we're going to try that number 3 Jimmy Nardello. I am going to be aiming for 24 to 30 pepper plants in that 50-foot row. Some more walk space. So here I have just some blank area because I haven't fully 100% figured out what I'm going to do here. We need okra, but if you see on this cabbage row, up here I have then okra. Cabbage needs to be harvested somewhere around June, and okra doesn't have to go into the ground until July. Really, where I live, I could technically get away with planting it the 1st of August and still get a good crop because they absolutely love the heat of summer. So, since these need to be, cabbage needs to be pulled in June, I think I'm going to go ahead and put the okra in that row, leaving this space wide open for whatever. I need to find basil and parsley. I need to put that somewhere, but I think I'm going to just be sprinkling those as companion plants all throughout my garden, so I don't want to dedicate a whole row just to that because they are fantastic companion plants. So those will probably be sprinkled all over. So I am still on the fence about this. So when y'all see everything that I'm growing, if you have any recommendations about what I should put here, I have a 50-foot long, probably by about, it's probably going to be about 3 foot wide, maybe 4 foot wide row of just something. I don't really know. So y'all let me know any ideas that you might have. Okay, next is strawberries. I cannot believe we have tried to grow strawberries very unsuccessfully. I haven't been able to grow a fantastic strawberry harvest yet. So this year, we are growing a 50-foot long strawberry row in the weed fabric, and I think that's going to be key, is using that weed fabric, because the runners just go crazy and the pests have been terrible for my strawberries. I have lost almost all of my strawberries to pests, and I'm hoping that the weed fabric ground cover will help with that. I already know I'm going to have to treat for slugs. We use Sluggo. It's a fantastic organic gardening pest solution for slugs. It's pretty budget friendly. You don't have to apply it too often, so it really fits the bill of simplicity for me. And so I'm going to be going ahead and marking that down, strawberries and Sluggo. I'm going to have to go ahead and apply that from the very beginning because I know those slugs are going to love the strawberries. If you don't know, now is the time to order your strawberries. You want to go ahead and get them when they are their bare root and get them in the ground while they're still dormant, before spring hits and before they put out those first set of green leaves. So we are going to be putting those in the ground pretty soon. Okay, next, I actually have changed my mind about this. Actually, I haven't made up my mind about it, I guess I should say. So right here I have my salad bar, which is all of my salad greens, all of your kales and spinaches and all of those lettuce blends. And I have these hoop little symbols just like I do over here on the cabbage, because of pests again, but the pests with the lettuce and salad greens are ground level pests, not flying pests. It's your slugs and lots of other things. And I don't know that planting them in the weed fabric with the hoop, like little screens over them, not screens, the fabric over them, I don't know if that's going to be the option or the best option for me. So the other thing I'm looking at is, excuse me, you see all these little symbols right here. Those represent our cattle panel vertical trellises. It's like a big long fence that is just hooped over just like that. And last year I tested out putting a cinder block bed. If you see this orange line that goes down the center of my trellises, that represents cinder block raised bed. And I just wanted to test it out because I kept looking at that trellis and seeing so much wasted space under there and thinking I could grow something there in a raised style bed, and it worked fantastically. It is challenging to maintain and harvest. I'm like walking through the trellises and getting smacked in the face with cucumbers and green beans and stuff as I'm trying to tend to the carrots and stuff. But I have kids who are nice and short, young children who can get under there for me if I need help. And it was worth it to me to really maximize my growing space. So especially if you have kiddos who can help you, it is a little difficult harvesting stuff in the summertime, but you are using up all that space underneath those trellises. So since we are almost doubling our trellis tunnels this year. We have 2 trellis tunnels. We are almost doubling them. Here's where they stop currently. We currently have 3 trellises, and we are adding 4 more, so we're more than doubling. So this year, I'm thinking about extending that cinder block bed all the way down the width of both tunnels. And I'm thinking I'm going to move my salad bar garden there. This is garlic. The cinder block bed that's underneath this trellis is currently garlic. This one's going to remain carrots. I'm going to extend the carrots a little bit, but then both around the 3rd or 4th trellis on both sides, I'm thinking I'm going to extend that cinder block bed all the way down, do all of my salad greens in there, and what I would do is stick the rebar through the holes of the cinder block, put that PVC tubing over the rebar, and create a little hoop structure on top of these cinder block beds. And I think that is going to allow me to grow our greens all year round, because in the summertime I can put shade cloth on top of those hoops, and in the wintertime I can put frost cloth on top of those hoops. Very low maintenance once I get it set up, and that is going to be the goal. So if I do that, I will have another 50-foot long space that is empty. So I'm thinking about that in the back of my mind too. Don't forget to provide me your recommendations. So another big thing that we are doing this year is we are completely changing the location and style of growing our tomatoes. We are going to be growing our tomatoes on our cattle panel trellises this year, and one entire tunnel is dedicated to just tomatoes. We're going to be doing some Cherokee and 42-day tomatoes, our big beef hybrid, San Marzano for all of our sauces. Actually, we're doing 2 San Marzanos this year, Brandy Boy and Sun Gold. We're doing 2 trellises for Brandy Boy, and then our Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. I'm going to be trying those out for the first time this year, and I'm excited. The other row of trellises is for all of our other vertical friendly crops besides the tomatoes. One of the reasons I think I forgot to mention is why we're switching the tomatoes is just because those tomato stakes and cages are just not big enough to handle your indeterminate tomato varieties, which is mostly what we grow. And there are multiple ways to stake up tomatoes that don't even involve those tomato cages, but they needed more space than what we had. And we had some extra cattle panel trellises on our property, so why not just utilize those and not have to purchase anything? So that's what we decided to do. It's just that the tomatoes get a lot taller than you think they do, and than I thought they did when I first started growing. So cattle panel trellises for the tomatoes. Next, all of our vertical growing. We're going to have our 2 varieties of cucumbers that we did last year. Fantastic. No reason to change it if it worked great. Our muncher our muncher cucumbers for snacking on, and our pickling cucumbers for pickles. Next, I'm still going to be doing 2 trellises of zucchini. Last year, I did 3 of the zucchini rampicante, and 3 was way too many. I am still drowning in some zucchini, not growing out there right now in the dead middle of winter, but the storage variety. The zucchini rampicante, I still don't know how to pronounce that. If you don't know, it is like a 2-for-1 crop. If you harvest it early, it stays green, and you use it just like zucchini, or you can keep it on the vine, let it grow, it will turn orange, the skin will get nice and tough, and then you have something more akin to a butternut squash, and they store fantastic. It is February right now, and I still have probably 20 of those squash storing beautifully. So we're going to knock it down from 3 trellises to 2 trellises, because I think that's all I'm going to need this year. Next, we're still going to be doing our sugar baby watermelons just for a fun, rewarding snack right off the vine. We don't preserve it. That's just our snack to kind of encourage us and motivate us and give us that wonderful, fresh summer bounty refreshments while we're working in the garden. And then we're going to be doing another one for pole green beans, and we're going to be trying snow peas this year. Because we do have a freeze dryer, I have heard that snow peas freeze dry wonderfully and people eat them like potato chips. So I'm going to be doing a whole trellis for snow peas for that purpose. Okay, so we have walkways. I have a current divider line right here, which is where the current garden ends. Now if we walk to the new extensions, what we have here is a potato patch, a very large potato patch. And I mentioned very early on in the video that there was 2 primary reasons that we needed to expand, and this is one of them. We need to grow way more potatoes than we ever have, and I don't necessarily want to sacrifice that much space on the inside of this garden that I have spent years and years building up the soil for, because potatoes can kind of grow in somewhat poor soil. So I didn't want to take up that much space in this valuable soil growing area. So we are going to be moving our wood chips, Lord willing, moving our wood chips over into this area. And I'm going to be doing just like I did last year with the sweet potatoes, where I created a little soil pocket in the wood chips, filled that little pocket with soil, plopping a potato there, and doing that in this whole patch right here. It's going to be, I think, about 30 feet by, let's see, probably 30 by 30. So it's going to be a lot of potatoes in that. I am hoping to get about 150 pounds of potatoes minimum out of this little new potato patch here. So an equal amount of size right here, we are introducing blueberries for the first time this year. It's something I've always wanted to grow, but we just haven't had the space or the setup to bring in any kind of fruit trees or fruit bushes. But this year we're going to go ahead and add blueberry bushes. We're going to be growing the rabbit eye and southern high bush, which perform the best in the southern region where we live, based on my research, based on talking to blueberry growing experts. That's what they highly recommend. So that's what I'm going with this year. It's my first year growing blueberries, so I don't know much about it. If you are a blueberry growing pro, please drop all the tips in the comments, and I will soak those up and learn and enjoy the process of learning that. We're going to start out with at least 4 blueberry bushes this year. I'm thinking I might do, I'm still deciding on if I want to do another row of blueberry bushes here to give us 8, if I want to double that. The reason why I'm still deciding is because blueberries are perennials. You know, you plant them once, they're going to be there forever. So whatever I plant here, it's, if I do plant them here, you know, that's it. Like nothing else can go there. So I do still need a patch for my sweet potatoes, and that's what I currently have written here is sweet potatoes. And I need to do some more measurements, do some more brainstorming, and see if I think I can yield enough sweet potatoes from 2 to 3 rows right here if I were to get 8 blueberry bushes. Since this is our first year growing blueberries, I might just go ahead and do 4, get my feet wet, learn the process, make sure I'm not going to kill them accidentally, and then go ahead and have plenty of room for sweet potatoes, and then make that decision on expanding the blueberries the following year. We'll see. Okay, so over here we have, I still need a perennial herb section. So the perennial herb bed is going to be moving to right inside our second entrance over here. And we are going to be growing yarrow, echinacea, rosemary, oregano, thyme, sage, and lemon balm. That's what's going in our perennial herb bed garden. Another thing that I'm really excited about this year is my wall of flowers. I can picture it in my head, and I know that reality is not going to be exactly the picture in my head, because it never is. But I want to do a wall of flowers that starts at my garden entrance here and expands the entire width of the garden. And I want it to be a 3-foot wide row, the entire width of the garden, of nothing but flowers, pollinator friendly things. The main things we're going to be planting in here is borage, cosmos, zinnias, poppies, snapdragons, lavender, wildflower mixtures, and bells of Ireland. So we will see. I'm really hoping that works out. So over here we have our green stalk. That's the last thing I think I haven't talked about yet. And we loved our green stock last year. We used it for our salad greens, but it was just not enough to feed our family as much salad greens as we needed. So this year I am dedicating my green stock to a medicinal herb garden. Then here's what we're going to be growing. We're going to be growing lemon balm, calendula, toothache plant, chamomile, lime basil, stevia, and feverfew. So all of that is going to be going in my medicinal tea garden green stock, and hopefully that's gonna work out good. Some of those are perennials, so I'm still kind of deciding, do I want that in the green stock? Do I want that in my perennial herb bed? I think I'm going to go ahead and start everything in the green stock. I think it should be pretty easy to transplant a plug from the green stock to my perennial herb bed if I need to, but for now, that's what I'm going to do, because I like the idea of keeping it all in one location, and I also like the idea of being able to slip a insect cover over that whole tower or a frost cover over that whole tower. So we'll see. I think that's it, y'all. Weed fabric perennial herb bed. Yes, so there is our 2024 garden plan. Don't forget to share your tips and ideas on blueberry growing, but also what should I put in this space? And if I do change my salad greens to over here in the cinder block bed, I have another 50-foot row, and I'm not sure what to put there. Let me know what y'all think. Hope that was helpful to y'all. We'll see you next time. Bye.